gentlemen, are you ready?
It is very important that you go through the very first class also, because that was the basic building of the. We did not do any coding yet, right? But you have to go through the recordings in order to understand where and why we are using SQL. Okay. Yesterday we learned about like these are the things which are available. We started with your directly with your DQL. What is DQL? Data query language, right? We started with your select. We understood that first of all, DQL is the most important thing in your SQL. Okay, I mean in terms of your interview, I mean everything is important, but in your interviews, 80% of the things will be from your DQL. Now, once we did that, we learned about these things in here, right? So all these things are known as commands, right? DDL, DML, TCL, all these things. We'll go through one by one, each one of them. First, we are learning DQL, which is data query language. In your data query language, there are these clauses which are also there. Select, from, join, where, group by, having, order by, and limit. One by one, we will learn each and everything in the next 4-5 days. We also learned the one first interview question which might be there for you guys is what is the order of execution, right? This is the order in which you will be writing the code. This is the order in which you will be reading the code. Okay, this is what we decided. We have not written any pieces of code yet. Okay, so, and because the from is read first, we started learning the from first. And we read that from only takes one thing, which is your table name. Okay, for the people who are attending for the very first time, you might not get much idea what we did yesterday, right? But people who have attended, I think it was very, very basic. Okay. So from table, then select. That is how you will read it, because from comes first and then your select is coming afterwards. You can skip things in between. That is totally fine. So in this case, also one thing which we understood was double dash will stand for your commenting pieces, which SQL will not read it. It will just skip these two lines and then it will start reading it from here. Okay. So if I write select from, you will read from select. Okay. So from, what does from takes? From takes a table name, and we have 3 tables in here: customers, orders, and shippings. Let's focus only on customers for now. So I'll just say customers. And then you can select only the existing columns, or you can create new columns also. Okay, so for now, I'm just selecting the existing column. We'll start creating new columns later on. Select, there are a couple of these columns in here: customer ID, first name, last name, age. So you are asking question that from customers, what are the first name? Okay, so if I run this, you will get the answer that these are the first name: John, Robert, David, John, Betty, which is coming directly from here. John, Robert, David, John, and Betty. Okay. All right. This is something which until here, which we learned yesterday. Right. So before starting today's, let's go through again one of content which we say, right? Okay. And that is very, very powerful language if it comes with your data handling part, right? Data manipulation, data transformation, all these things are done very easily in your SQL.
Now Python, you would say, okay, Python is also very good. Yes, these are also the good things are there, but they are for their own use. So Tableau is for visualization purpose. SQL you cannot do visualization, right? Power BI also you can do visualization. Python, it might be for some automation, it might be for app building, all these things. But once it comes to your data part, SQL, I think there's no language which is beating SQL still. Okay, so learning SQL is something which is very, very important nowadays. In fact, if you are learning data analytics, the data part, the first thing which they will look is whether you know SQL or not. For your software developers, it is something a little bit different. That is your second priority. The first thing will still be your programming language. Okay. With this, let's start with, so what if I say you that you want multiple column names, right? So you just write first name and then comma, and then you write more columns, because what did I say you can select multiple columns also, not just one column, you can select multiple columns also, right? And that is what I will be doing. You will just say last name. So these names also should be exactly matching with your column names in here, right? First name, last name. And now if I run it, you have two columns in here, first name and then the last name, right? So you can select multiple columns. What if you want to select all of the columns, right? So that way you can just write star. And how do you read the star? It is read as all, right? So from customers, select all. Okay, that would give you the whole table itself. So if you run this, and now your whole table is there in your output. That means give me everything from the customers table. Okay, now, and that is the only thing which is there in your this part, at least in here. Creating new columns, I think we'll have to cover it later on, maybe in the second week, but at least this part is done. Okay, columns. Today's is, I just wanted to focus on where clause. I think it will take the full day for today's in order to cover the where. What is where, right? By the way, you already know all these things. Like I said yesterday also, you already know all of these things. It's just that you need to know how to write it. Until now, there was no difficulty, right? From table, select your column names. That's it, right? What is where? Now, where takes something which is condition or conditions, right? So what is where? If you want to filter out rows, right? If you want to filter your data basis on some conditions. A condition is something which is either true or false. So if I ask whether your age is above 18 or not, right? So your answer will either be true or false. It cannot be both, right? So same way, you will write something in here which will either result in true or will either result in false. Nothing. It's not like both of them cannot be there. Either true will be there or either false will be there. Okay. So if I ask you this thing in here, how many rows will be there if I ask you this question, that how many customers are there for USA country? No, I mean that is the writing part, right? Writing part I will come back. But how many customers are there in USA country? Two, right?
Two.
Okay, so that means two rows will be there in the answer, right? So I don't want two, I want two rows. So what you are doing, you are removing third, fourth and fifth rows, and you are keeping the first and second rows, right? Again, let's say if I ask the next question, how many customers are there who have aged more than 22? 3, right? So what you are doing basically in here is, you are going row by row and checking whether everything is true or false, right? For country is equal to USA, you went to this row and then you said, okay, country is equal to USA, true. And if it is true, you are keeping that row. And if it is false, you are removing that row. In the second row, again, you are going true, false, true, you are keeping it. Here it is false, here it is false, here it is false. Right? Age also, age is greater than 22, right? So this is true, this is false, this is false, this is true, this is true, right? So you are going row by row. You can only say that there are 3 people above 22 if you go through all the rows, right? It's not like only just by looking at this 31 you can say that there are 3 people above 22, right? Yes, people were sitting there. Just text. Okay. So where clause also does the same thing. As soon as you write where clause, SQL will go through row by row and it will check whether the particular condition is true or false for that particular row. If for that particular row the condition is true, the row will be kept. If for that particular row if the condition is false, that particular row will be removed from your answer, from your output. Okay. How would you write it? Let it be like this. After from I am learning where. How you will be reading this? What is the first thing which will run first? First, what will your SQL will run? From. Okay. After from, what will run? Where?
Condition.
Where your select will run. Okay. So from customers, where this should have a condition in here, right? And how would you write this condition? Let's say for the age, right? I'll say age greater than 22. Right? This is like I think what 5th class maths, right? Everyone knows this symbol, right? This is greater than, this is less than, this is greater than or equal to, this is less than or equal to, this is equal to, right? This is what I learned in, let's say, 3rd or 4th class, I don't know. But if you are still having some doubts, like which is greater, which is less, I mean, at least my teacher used to teach me like this, like, right? This is the mouth of your dinosaur. Wherever it is open, that is your bigger side, and this is your smaller side, right? So this age is greater than 22. This condition will be checked for each and every row in here. Okay. Now let's say if I run this, you're having 3 rows. 2 times 22 were there, they are not available in your answer. 31, 25 and 28 are only available. Okay. So let's say if you remember all these ages, 31, 22, 22, 25, 28, what will happen if I say like this, age equal to 22, how many rows? 2 rows. Okay. Greater than, you already said 3. If I say greater than or equal to 22, then 5. And less than or equal to 22? 2, correct. You already said equal to. There is one more thing which is not equal to. Okay. Either you write not equal to like this, or you write not equal to like this. In many of the programming language, it is written like this. Right. If I say not equal to 22, how many rows? 3 rows. Okay. At least you got the way about how it is happening in here, right? But this is only one condition. Right? And also you are only checking the number. If you are checking the number, you can write it directly. Age is equal to 22. What if you are checking some of the text column, which is country? If I say country is equal to USA, right? This will be an error. What error? Let's see. If I run this, it says error, no such column USA. What is happening in here is SQL do not know whether this is a column or this is a column. Okay, because column cannot be, you can say it like this and it will not be an error, right? At least it will not be an error because there is no country 22. If I run this, it will say SQL query successfully executed. However, the result set is empty, right? Because there is no country which is 22. But if you write it like this will be an error. Because SQL now is confused whether country is a column or USA is a column. Okay. So whenever you are comparing a text value, you should always compare it inside your quotations. Either double quotations or single quotations. Anything will work. Okay. In your MS SQL, I think depending on your SQL to SQL, in your MS SQL, single quotations works. In your MySQL, which we will be learning, anything will work. Double quotation or single quotation, both will work. Now, one thing which you have to notice here is, if it is in quotations, whatever is inside the quotation, that becomes case sensitive. That means this USA is not same as this USA. Okay, so if I run this, how many rows do you think you will have? 0 rows you will have, and it will still say SQL query successfully executed. However, the result set is empty. But if you say USA capitals, and now if you run it, you will have 2 rows. Okay, both of them for USA. All right, this is still fine. This is still easy because this is still one condition. What if there are more than one condition? So if I ask you this question now, how many customers are there above age 22 but below age 30? 2 customers are there, right? Above age 22 and below age 30. Right? How would you write this? How your brain also is working is, you are going this row. This is above 22, which is true, but this is not below 30. So that is false. So you are removing this, right? That means both of the condition, if it is true, then only you are keeping it. If any one of the condition is false, you are removing it, right? Now that brings us to a place where you have to learn what is and what is or. Okay, many people might know it already. And means, I mean, you can put multiple conditions also using these 2 keywords, and or. And means all the conditions, if they are true, then the final condition should be true, right? And you want only one final condition because, like I said, your age, if it is greater than 18, you only have one answer, either true or false. You cannot have both of them, right? So where, whatever you write after where, everything will result into one true or one false. Okay, not both of them. So if all the conditions are true, then only the final condition will be true if you are using and. Okay, let's see one in working. Bring these out. So I'll write age is greater than 22 and age is less than 30. Something like this. It would mean it will check this also, it will check this condition also. If both of them are true, then only it will keep that row, right? Let's say for the 31, what will happen? This first one will be true, and then you have and. The second one will be false. Because for 31, this is true, for 31, this is false. Now true and false will result into false. And is saying both of them, if it is true, then the final condition will be true. Okay. If both of them are false, then also false. If any one of them is false, then also false. Okay. So let's say if I have something like this, true and true, then what is the answer? True. I have true and true and true and false. What do you think the answer? False. Because any one of it is false, the whole thing will become false. That's it. If you run it now, you're getting 25 and 28 because 22 will be removed because of this, 31 will be removed because of this. 25 and 28 only will be kept. Okay. This is your and in working. What is or? Or says any one of the condition, if it is true, the final condition will be true. Okay. So let's say if you have true or false or false or true, what will be the final condition? True. Because any one of it is true, the final condition will be true. If everything is false, then only the final condition is false. Okay. Now you guys tell me if you know or. Let's see if you are if I write it like this, if I change and to or, with and how many rows were there? 2 rows were there, right? 25 and 28. If I say or age is greater than 22 or age is less than 30, okay, how many rows will be there? 4, okay. Any other answer? All rows, okay. 5? Correct. At least you guys are understanding, because in the other class, I got all the answers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the correct answer. Why? Let's say 31. It is greater than 22. There is no need to check the other condition because it is already there, true, right? True or anything is true, right? So this is true. Age is greater than 22, false, or age is less than 30. That means this is also true. This is also true, this is also true, this is also true. Basically, this condition which you have kept it in here, any number will be true. Be it minus 1000, be it plus 1000, any number will be true, right? Because either this will be true or this will be true, right? So in this case, all the 5 rows will be in the answer. So if I run this, you have all the 5 rows. Okay, so that is how you will check multiple conditions. Now this is fine because you are using either and or either or, right? What if, okay, let's practice more. Let's say I'll write and country is equal to, what do you think how many rows you will have? Age is greater than 22 and country is equal to USA. 1, correct. Right, only 1 row will be there, which is the first one. Country is equal to USA and age is greater than 22. What if I change just this to or? Two, okay. Any other answers? 2 rows. Or any other answers? Age is greater than 22 or country is equal to USA. 3 rows, okay. Any other answers? 5 rows? 4 rows. 4 rows. If you tell 5 answer, any one answer will be correct, right? 4 will be correct answer. Which all rows will have the true? First one will be there in the answer or wrong? It will be there in the answer because both of them are true or true, right? Age is greater than 22, country is equal to USA also. So both of them are true, so answer will be there in the answer. Second one will be true because country is USA. Third one will be false because neither the age is above 22 nor the country is USA. Fourth one, true because the age is greater than 22. No need to check country. Again, age is greater than 22. No need to check country. So, only the third row will not be there in the answer. Third customer ID will not be there. But all the other ones will be available. 1, 2, 4 and 5. Okay. Yeah, so it might seem simple, but again, these things are simple. It's just that you have to understand the logic of and or differently. Okay, with this, now until now we were just only checking either and or either or, right? What if they are in the combination, right? Let's say if I write it like this, age is equal to 31 and age is less than 30 or age is I don't know what will be the answer in here, right? It's very difficult to identify the number of rows in this case, but at least you should understand how it will happen. Okay. For 31, when the age is 31, whether the whole thing will result in true or false. Let's check whether it will be true or false. Okay, let's understand one by one. So age is 31, true. We have and age is less than 30, false. I'm only checking for 31 for now. Okay, then again or is there. Then age is equal to 25, false. Right? Now what will happen? Would you go from left to right or would you go from right to left? Right? Or is there some other logic? Right? Let's try to go from left to right. Let's do one thing. In this case, let's put it like this. Age is greater than 30, let's say. Right? What will happen in this case? This is true. Or let me change few things. Let's so true and I mean let's focus on this one. Okay, fine. Okay. For 31, age is equal to 31, that is true. Age is less than 30, which is false. Age is equal to 25, which is also false. The very mistake which you guys will do is you will go from left to right always, right? And in this case it is fine, but it eventually is not for every case. So for now, true and false will become false. Okay. Then you have or, and then you have false again, right? So false or false will become false. This logic, your 31 should not be there in the answer, right? And that is correct also. 31 will not be there in the answer, right? 25 is there in the answer, but 31 is not there in the answer, right? But it is not exactly this what is happening. So if I put here or and here and, or here and here, right? What do you think will happen now? So you have true or false. Again, let's go from left to right. True or false? True or false is true. And false is there. This false is here. True and false will become false. So according to this also, 31 should not be there, right? But now if I check and if I run this, 31 is there in the answer, right? So there is some other logic which is happening. It's not from left to right. It is not from right to left. It is on the preference of and then or. So whatever and is there, that will be resolved first, and then your or will be resolved. Okay. In this case, the first line is correct, but in this case, this and this will not be resolved first. This and this, so true will be kept as true only because it is accompanied with or. False and false will become false. Now true or false will become true. And that is why 31 will be there in the answer. Okay. So always you solve for your and first and then you solve for your or. Okay, if there is combination of your and or. Okay. We learned about your and, we learned about your or. There is one thing which is in also. It is in. So if you have multiple or statements, right? Not just one or two, you can have multiple, right? So or age is equal to 22 or age is equal to 25. You see it becomes bigger and bigger, right? There is a simplified way of writing it also. Instead of writing age equal to 31, age equal to 22, age equal to 25, I can just write age in, then brackets open and closed, 31, 22, 25. This is the same thing as writing age is equal to 31 or age is equal to 22 or age is equal to 25. Okay, this is just a simplified way of writing. If you have multiple or statements together, you can combine all of them together and put in. Okay, this also will works the same way, right? 31, 22, and 25. Okay, there is no statement to simplify or multiple AND statements, only the IN statements. There is one more thing which is between. Okay, although people don't use it much, it's not that much useful also. I'll tell you why. You can write something like this, where age between 22 and 31, something like this, or whatever. What does this mean? Give me all the customers who have age between 22 and 30, including 22 and 30 also. Okay. So this is including 22 and 30. How many rows do you think you will have? 4 rows you will have, right? 22, 25, and 28. The thing is, why people don't use it much? Because it is first of all confusing whether 22 and 30 will be included or not, right? You might forget about that. You can also write the same thing which you have written in here. You can write it like this: age greater than or equal to 22 and age less than or equal to 30. Right? People prefer to write it like this rather than writing your between. But if you want to write between, that is also fine. In the execution time, I mean, it will take the same time to run any one of them. So that is your between. Final thing which your where can take is your like keyword. Okay, like. If I ask you this question, how many customers are there whose name is starting with J? Two customers are there who are starting with J, right? How many last names are there who are starting with R? 2, right? Robinson and Reinhardt. So things like this. It's not like you're saying the name is John. You're saying the name is starting with J. Now that name can be John, it can be Johnson also, right? Same thing, it can be Robert, it can be Robinson, Reinhardt, anything can also be there in the last name also, right? Things like this are known as pattern matching. You are matching some pattern. This is just the first name, first letter which I'm saying. It can be find out the last name which are ending with letter E, right? So then in that case it will be do, right? These two things. Find out the last names whose second letter is O. How many are there? 3. Do 2 times and Robinson 1 time, right? So again, these things are known as pattern matching. If you want to figure these things out, you will have to use the like keyword. Because what will happen if you write it like this? First name is equal to J. If you write it like this, it will not work, right? If you run it, although there is no error in this case, but it will say the result set is empty because there is no first name which is J, right? I have first name starting with letter J. That is the question which I want to ask, right? How would you ask that? Instead of writing is equal to in here, you will be writing like. Okay, that is first step. Now there are two symbols which you have to remember, either percentage or either underscore. Percentage, in whenever I write percentage, you will just transform into saying anything. Okay, so if I say, so percentage and underscore, two things, right? If I say J percentage, it would mean I want to get the first name where the first letter is J and then afterward it can be anything. Okay. Now in this case, if I run it, I'll get 2 John. Okay. Because I'm just saying first letter should be J and then it can be anything. Afterwards it can be anything. Now you can change the position of this percentage. So I can change it and put it here. What does this mean? That the starting part can be anything, the last letter should be changed. Okay, although there are no customers like that. So let's say, again, only for John, let's say if I say N, right? So starting can be anything, the last letter should be N. Run it, again, John is available, right? You can also put in like 2 times percentage like this. What does this mean? That the starting can be anything, ending can be anything, somewhere in the middle you should have N, right? But it is not just somewhere in the middle, because you are saying starting can be anything. That means the starting can also be in the N. Ending can be anything. That means ending can also be the N. This whole thing would be read that in your letter, in your word, there should be N. Be it starting, ending, middle, anywhere, the N should be available. Okay. So let's say if I write E in here, right? First name like percentage E percentage, right? How many answers do you think you will have? 2, right? Robert and Betty. And then you have Robert and Betty. Okay. That is one thing. I'll just put in stop. Okay. Lastly, one more way which you can write this is writing, let's say, this percentage M. What does this mean? That the starting should be J, anything can be there in the between, but the ending should be N. Okay. Again, in this case also John is only available, right? So that is your percentage. The second thing which is there is your underscore. Now percentage is saying any number of letters can be there, right? It can be 1 letter, it can be 10 letters also in between. Does not matter. Only the first letter should be J, last letter should be N. Underscore means only one specific character. That means if I write it like this, underscore O percentage. What does this mean? That means the first letter can be anything. Only one letter can be anything. The second letter should be O, and then you can have any number of letters after that. Okay? So again, John will specify this, right? Robert is also there, by the way, not just John, right? First letter can be anything, right? The second letter should always be O, and then you can have any number of letters after that. Similarly, if you just provide one more dash, that means 2 letters can be anything. The third letter should be O, and then you can have anything after that. Right? Similarly, you can change things like this. You can provide percentage. What does this mean then? For this. Second last letter should be O. That's it. Right? It can have starting anything. Second last letter should be O. The last letter can be anything. Okay. I mean, again, these are the questions which we will practice also once we are done with your basics part. But this is just basic building, right? These are the things which are there in your where clause. Now again, if someone asks you in your interview, although it's very rare that someone is going to ask you in your interview that what is where, right? But if, let's say, because you are freshers, they can ask. So what is where clause? What you will answer? where filter out the record basis on condition. That's it, right? Nothing difficult, right? What it is doing, it is just filtering out the rows or records. Records and rows are same. So in some language you say records. In some language you say rows or records, columns or fields, right? So anything, columns and rows are also fine. So where helps to filter out the rows based on conditions. That's it. Nothing complicated. Let's see a real life or not a real case scenario, right? Let's forget about this table. You know, there is no table which will be given to you during your interview also. So there won't be any table which will be given. They will just say there is a customer table. Now you just imagine how the customer table will be looking like. Okay? They won't give you this. Maybe they will give you the column names, but they will not give you the rows. So let's say in that case, I am asking you this question that there is a city table, city, right, which has all the city names, Bangalore, Agra, whatever, right? I want to get all the city names which are starting with vowels. Everyone knows what is vowel, right? A, E, I, O, U, right? So any city names which are starting with vowels, I want to get them. Okay, if they are not starting with vowels, I don't want to get them. I want to remove them, basically. How would you get it? Let's say, I mean, again, I'm giving this example in here, but no one will give you this rent review that let's say there is Bangalore or Bengaluru, whatever, right? Agra, Delhi. If only these three cities are there, if I run, only Agra should be there in the answer because Agra is the only city which is starting with a vowel, which is A. Right? How would you? What is the query which you will write? But with all the things which we have covered. Select star from city, right? Fine. Where? Let's say this is city name. This all things you have to imagine. No one is going to tell like, okay, I'm just assuming while writing the piece of code only, you should tell your interview that I'm assuming that the table name is city. I'm assuming that the column name is city name. Where city name? Then what? Cannot just say directly is equal to A, E, I, O, U, right? You have to write like because you want to compare only the first character in here. Okay? Where like A percentage, that is only for A, right? Next, you will be writing or, and then you will just copy paste it 5 times, let's say. You just change A, E, I, O. This particular query will give you cities which are starting with vowels. Okay. Now the same question can be answered in multiple ways, and all of them will have almost the same answer, just few tweaks here and there. If I ask you this question, give me all the city names which are ending with vowels. What is the thing which you want to change in? That concept remains same. You just will change with all of them, right? Here also E you will have to change it here to here. This will become ending letter should be vowel, right? Again, give me all the city names which has vowel in it. No matter whether it is starting, ending, it has somewhere in between, right? So you just have to change it like this. Again, give me all the city names which has second letter as vowel, right? Underscore A and percentage, right? And everywhere you'll have to do the same thing. A, E, I, O, U, everywhere. Okay. Give me all the city names which has second letter as vowel or third last letter as vowel, right? Third last letter as vowel means percentage A double dash. Last 2 letter can be anything. Third last letter is A, and then front it can be anything, right? The same one question can be asked in multiple 10 different ways, right? So you cannot by heart any of the answers. It's just that again, instead of city name, it can be employee name also. So do not say that the question is different now, right? Assume a table employee. There is an employee name also. column available in your table. Give me all the employees where names are starting with vowels. Same, it's not just city about, right? Any table can be given. This was your where clause. Right. I missed one thing which is in the select, and let's cover that, and then we'll be completed for today. In your select, there is one more thing which comes, which is your distinct keyword. Okay, it is only available in your select. You cannot write it anywhere else. What does this mean? So if I just write from select first name, and if I run this, you have John, Robert, David, John again, and then Betty, right? If you write distinct, it will only give you non-duplicate value. Means in this case you have two Johns in here, right? If you write distinct in the front, your two Johns will become only one John. Okay, so you will have only 4 rows in there. If I run that, John, Robert, David, and Betty, right? Nothing complicated, right? Only one thing which you have to take care is, let's say if I don't write distinct in here, comma, last name, you are getting first name and last name. You cannot write distinct for both of them. This is fine. This is not fine. You cannot write distinct 2 times. It will be an error. Now the thing is, if you write only once, it is applicable for both of them anyways. Okay? If you are writing select distinct first name, it is not only for the first name. It is for the first name and the last name combination. Okay? So that means if I run it now, how many rows do you think you will have? That means the combination of first name and last name should not repeat. All the rows should be there, right? Correct. So if I run it, all the rows are available. This is John Doe and this is John Rihanna, and that's why both of them are there. If both of them were John Doe and John Doe, one of them will be removed. Okay, that is how distinct will work. So again, in this case, if I remove it, this select distinct last name, what will happen in this case? How many rows? How many rows will be there? 4 rows will be there, right? Because 2 rows are there. Right? Doe, Luna, Robinson, and Rihanna. That is your distinct. Okay, one final thing before we call off for today is, if you do not like this last name, column name, right? You can change the column name also using something which is named as aliases. Aliases mean giving a temporary name to a table or to a column name. So right now we are just giving temporary name to a column. So let's say as aliases last name LN. Right? This will not change the name in the existing table. This will change only in your result. In here, it is showing you last name in here. If I run it, now it will say LN. Okay. So for temporary basis, you can give a temporary name to your column. So this last name is LN. I can also say first name as FN, comma last name as LN. Right? This is known as aliases. Aliases is this. This is what I'm saying, aliases. This is just means giving a temporary name to a particular column. Okay. Any questions until now? So we have only discussed inside your from you will have only one table name. Where clause you can have multiple conditions with the help of your and or. in, and like. Okay. In your select, you can only select your columns. So until now, only one interview question really came up, which is just your order of execution. No one is going to ask you what is where. No one is going to ask you how would you write and or all those things. Maybe the combination of things might come up, but just where, whatever we learned today, nothing is there for your interview purpose as such. Tomorrow, there will be one interview question which is on your joints. It is very, very important. So please attend tomorrow's class. Many people make mistake. It is almost given that question will be asked in an interview. Okay. First one is order of execution. The second one will be from your joints. So we'll take full 1 day. More than 1 day is required to just understand what is joints. And then maybe 2 days for these ones. And then we are covered with your basics part. Okay. All right.